Welcome to our daily reflection for this Thursday, April 10th. And today in the readings, we hear about Abraham in the first reading, and we hear about God's fidelity to his covenant to Abraham in the Psalm today from Psalm 105. And then that leads us up to the gospel, where Jesus is discussing with the leaders in Judea about Abraham. And, Jesus says, whoever keeps my word will never see death. And so that's a pretty powerful line. So how could he say his word gives life unless he's God? And then that raises that very question. And they are going to ask that, who do you make yourself out to be? Who are you? Is the question. And that's a question for us to reflect on about Jesus in our own prayer time today. Who is Jesus? Don't think that you know the full answer to that, because God is bigger than what we can understand and know. Now, we do know by our faith and by the proclamation of the gospel in the New Testament, the church teaching that Jesus is the Son of God. But do we really fully grasp what that means? And that's what we need to ponder, because we're before a mystery, which means that there's more for us to understand than we can possibly understand. And yet we need to grapple with that. And then Jesus says, look, I'm not glorifying myself. My glory comes from the Father. And what's the context for him to say that? That he's not glorifying himself, but his glory comes from the Father. Well, he's going to refer to this a little bit later when he talks about the good works that he does, these miracles, these mighty deeds. They are also the Father glorifying and honoring the Son. The Father has given the Son power and authority, and the Father does mighty works through the Son to glorify the Son. And Jesus goes on, he says, look, I know and keep his word. So Jesus is the first model of how to be a good son of God and a model for us. Jesus knows the word of the Father and he keeps it. That's what we want to do too. We want to know the word of the Father and we want to keep it. And then he goes on to say, Abraham, your father rejoiced when he saw my day and was glad. And then the Judeans say to him, you are not yet 50 years old, and you've seen Abraham? And Jesus said to them, amen, amen, I say to you, before Abraham was, I am. And of course, that I am, ego eimi, is the I am. In other words, it's the I am that you hear about in Exodus 3:14, where God says, in response to Moses, what is your name? He says, Ea Asher Ea, I am who am. And so Jesus is saying he is God. And then they pick up stones to throw at him, but Jesus hid himself and went out of the temple area. So Jesus says, I am. And so we see that he is God, and we know that he is the Son of God. And so today, let's ponder this great mystery as we are in the 5th week of Lent, and as we get close to Holy Week. We're just a short way out from Jesus suffering through the passion and dying. And we discover that in the midst of all this, he is I am. That God becomes finite, that God takes on a body, that God takes on human nature that allows him to be vulnerable. He has to escape arrest. He has to escape being stoned to death here, because it's not yet the time, it's not yet the hour, but it's close. We're getting closer and closer to that hour. And that's what we'll read about over the next 2 weeks. As we approach Holy Week, we're going to get closer and closer and closer. And the circle will be tightening around Jesus, and the threat to his life will be growing. And yet what's so remarkable is that Jesus isn't just a man. He's not just the Messiah. He's not just a king. He's God. And yet he makes himself fully vulnerable to being arrested, tortured, and put to death. How is it that the infinite God can make himself so completely vulnerable? Because he loves us, and he loves you. And that's what you need to ponder today, is the mystery of Jesus' divinity over the next couple of days, to prepare us for how great the mystery is that he suffers for us, because he suffers as a God who didn't need to. May the Lord bless and keep you.
This daily reflection is brought to you thanks to the generous support of the Mission Circle. Join the Mission Circle to help Catholics worldwide understand, live, and share their faith. Sign up at missioncircle.org today.